Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where Michelle and I have got the TNT takes for you on the Amazing Race 35, Episode 7. That's right, I'm your host, Chris. We are back. Michelle, how you doing?
Good. I'm awake.
It's
I'm
weekend.
just so tired. I know you're working hard. Me as a teacher reports to you. We're both working hard, and we're like, it's like peak reality TV. Just trying to get us limping towards Christmas to get this all done.
Yes. It's a lot happening at the moment. You mentioned that you've watched predominantly all of the shows up until this point. I have not had time to do that. I have just watched The Amazing Race as we are heading into this podcast, and then I've still got to watch Survivor, the latest episode. Haven't seen that yet. And then I have to watch The Challenge, who decided this week to do 2 episodes. And The Challenge also is an hour-long episode for MTV. So that means 2 hours worth of content that I need to catch up on before I get to talk about that at some point. It's been a lot.
I know, it's crazy. I know.
But the writer's strike's finished. Did you hear about it? The writer's strike is now finished. The writer's strike, it's done. Yeah, so we'll probably be back to 45-minute episodes for Amazing Race next season, back to 45 minutes for Survivor, because now they've got their shows back.
I know. Well, currently I've got to binge UK Survivor when I've finished all my reports and everything. I'll binge that. I've got to binge Race Across the World. They raced across Canada. I think that's their 3rd season. I haven't watched that yet. It's a really good series. And there's some other things, bits and pieces I haven't watched, and I'm just going to binge them all in the holidays.
I think that's going to be me. I don't see myself catching up on all of the shows that have been sort of coming out in the last couple of weeks. I haven't watched Survivor UK. I know we're covering it here on the channel. Mucky is doing a good job with Verity and Tom McPherson there to cover that show here, but I have to catch up on it as well. And I probably will do it when I go over to New Zealand for Christmas. That's kind of my plan at this stage. Just like I'll have like a couple of days there, but then again, I'm catching up with friends that I haven't seen for a while.
So you'll have time when you get into bed, but then you might not get into bed.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Logan, welcome back to the live stream here as well. Says on my PVR for the Amazing Race that shows the final words of Survivor contestants voted off. Started recording. I had to wait until a couple of hours ago to watch the last Amazing Race episode. No good. I don't want to be spoiled on any of that. I need to go and check that out after this recap. But fun episode. We move from India, from Jaipur, and we go to Frankfurt in Germany, one of the hubs of Europe. And we get to see a completely different backdrop. And I kind of felt like it was time. We've had quite a few legs now in India. What was it before that? Malaysia. It's like it just needed some different scenery, and the backdrop was stunning this episode.
Episodes in Asia or what they call Asia down here. So we needed a bit of Europe in there now, or at least Africa or South America. So Germany was good.
Hey Sandy, welcome to the live. Logan says it's like that every week. I learned it the hard way 3 weeks ago, so I have to always watch Survivor first because of it.
That's annoying.
Yep. That is annoying. CBS is really bad. Sometimes it's spoiling things as well. But it was fun to see them finally move to Europe and do this. I couldn't believe when they said that this was going to be the first leg where they're going to drive themselves. I was like, really? We've gone this deep into a season without a leg where they've had to drive themselves? Because that kind of hides the weakness of a lot of teams, I think. And we saw that play out in a big way this episode.
I know, exactly. But then they all start together in Germany anyway. Like, it's like an equalizer anyway. So they all start together, and I'm thinking, why are they all telling their drivers in India to go fast to the airport when they know they're going to be equalized? Like, why bother?
They were in race mode. For all we know, they tried to get a better flight when they got to the airport. Who knows? Like, if I was there, I wouldn't have trusted that it's all the same flight. I would have been like, is there a different flight that I can take, like a connecting flight that's quicker? I'm sure a few of them hustled, but maybe it just didn't make the final cut for the episode as well. But interesting to hear here that Todd and Ashley lived in Germany before, so they had a bit of an advantage coming into the leg, being familiar with Germany as a whole, definitely compared to some other people who've never probably left the USA. And then also at the same time, we had Robin, who also lived there for a while, brought back bittersweet memories for her because she had a child that was born there, but obviously her husband passed away, who she used to live with over there. And throughout this episode, like I am kind of liking Robin and Chelsea. I've got to say, I don't know what
I
it is.
really
The teams
am
that
too.
I'm liking the teams that
Yeah.
have that fighting spirit within them.
I was really happy when I heard she'd done 3 years there. I thought, "Oh, she might climb up, the ranks
And they
by."
did.
Yeah, I
They
know,
did.
by
They finished second by the end of this episode. So
I know,
clearly
it's
that,
amazing. It's the
yeah, it's
familiarity of it all for her.
yeah, that's a really good leg for them. I think they've had one first place as well in Leg 4, which may have been a part of that mega leg, which they called something different. But yeah, they did very decent in this episode throughout. And then obviously Steve and Annalie probably the biggest winners with the equalizing, because obviously
Yeah.
they lost a lot of time in the previous leg due to the fact that they were U-turned. I didn't like the U-turn, still don't, but at least they kind of gave them a shot at getting back up on the pack here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they
And yeah,
arrived there. What did you think of the the arrival into Frankfurt, having to drive 50 miles west to get a ferry on the very famous Rye River over there?
well,
What
I
did you
think
think of it?
well, the ambiguity of the different, ferry stops, obviously, some of them, I know, well, 2 of them didn't actually look for the actual name of the actual ferry, just thought, "Oh, here's a ferry, let's just do this one," which is a bit silly. But I love those, car ferries. They're great. I mean, when Annalie got there, she said, "Oh, everybody's here already," and I think there are only 3 cars in front of her. Yeah, she's prone to
Yeah.
exaggeration, that child.
Yeah. I think she was a bit. She's constantly at 120. Like she doesn't know how to turn it
Yeah.
off from 120.
Yeah.
And her dad had a tough time with her this episode, like to try and like keep her calm throughout the episode.
Well,
But
he
I
had
think that's
enough.
what brings out I think that's what brings out that competitive spirit in her though. Like she just wants to compete so badly.
Yeah. But you know what? She just pushed him way too far and then he broke. So, and not broke in a bad way. He just gave it to her and said, just stop doing what you're doing. And I think it went okay by the end because she realized what she was
Yeah.
doing. But I don't think it'll make her stop because that's
No.
just her.
No. They had very strategically placed the whole carnival bit in there where a lot of teams got into that carnival frustrated with each other. Definitely
Yeah.
Steve and Annalie were not the only team that were getting frustrated with each other. Morgan and Lena were going back and forth
Oh,
quite a bit as well. You even saw the Beard brothers getting a little bit frustrated and trying to get a parking space at one point. So there were a lot of teams that were starting to crack with the pressure of having to navigate themselves, getting
yes.
into maybe like a city environment where there's no English signs.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate, it looked very difficult. And for goodness sake, like, why can Lena not turn left? She kept turning
Oh
right.
my
Every time her sister said left, she
God.
turned right automatically.
I know. I mean, look, I teach it to my 5 and 6-year-olds. And then I don't have to teach it to all of them. Like it's only like a quarter who don't know left and right, and I teach them. So she must have some sort of issue with spatial awareness that she just can't get it.
I think it's pressure. I think she doesn't deal well with pressure, and she like freaks out and just makes an instinctive decision, which just so happened to be right every single time her sister gets like, gives her that direction of go left, and then she gets panicked and she just goes right for some other reason. I feel like she just freaks herself out.
And I think the teams, normally they have that bit of relaxation period in between tasks when someone's driving them or when they're on some sort of transportation, and they don't have that now. So they're stressed the entire day. They're stressed doing the task. They're stressed getting back in the vehicle. So that it's not as though they have a rest.
Logan here says Lena's favorite one-hit wonder is "I'm Too Sexy" by Left Said Fred. Right Said Fred. Yeah. Logan coming in with the jokes. I'm impressed, Logan. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning over there, and you can still, get up to give us the zingers, the one-liners at this time of night. Appreciate that. But
he does. Do you know he teaches English to?
I do.
Is it Chinese students? I'm not sure whether it's Chinese. I think it is, Logan. Yeah, so that's at this time. He has strange hours that he's awake. Yeah.
He's a night owl. He gets his energy from the night, I used to be like that before I decided to take on a very, very busy job that has me in bed at like 9:30 and 10 p.m. now in the weeknights. I'm just like, I'm out of it. Yeah,
That's
like I'm just
very early.
Yeah, no, it taps me. It taps me for sure.
Yeah.
It takes the energy out of me. I can't be a night owl at the moment. But yeah, so obviously the ferry was really cool. I like the fact that they had to go find this ferry, get on it. They had to exchange their money for very ancient coins. And this is where it was it was like watching paint dry this episode, seeing Team Pink running around like headless chickens, getting on the wrong ferry, getting 5 heroes, driving all the way around to actually get to the
God.
first roadblock and then go back. And you just knew that there was like no mystery in this episode. You
No.
very early on knew that they're getting eliminated, which made
Yeah.
a lot of the episode with the 90 minutes feel like a bit of a drag for me. There was still
Unless it was a non-elimination leg, which they probably wouldn't have had at this stage, but it could have been, and then they would have had to equalize the next leg. They couldn't let them leave at different times because it would have been crazy. They couldn't have finished
it went
the leg.
downhill.
There was 3 things they didn't do, and everyone else had checked in. Like, it's just impossible.
It was amazing for me that they didn't pick it up when they got there and they were like, has any other teams been here? And the guy's like, no. Maybe at that point you just reread the clue. You think, wow, are we really that far ahead? Are we really? I mean, they just spent a long time driving in the middle of nowhere into the forest and then get to the ferry eventually. Like, did they not for a second think that maybe they went in the wrong direction for a very long time? Got on the ferry. What is the chances that everybody else made the same mistake they did and they're actually ahead of the pack? Like, it amazed me. It amazed me.
It was a bit amazing. Their thinking wasn't up there for that, but I think they were just being so ultra positive and, just trying to get it done. But yeah, it was totally useless.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it was interesting seeing them on the ferry. Obviously they get to the roadblock, which is pay off a robber baron with the coins. A little bit of math required here to figure out what the coins are worth in total. And then they have to tell the baron what the coins are worth, and he lets them through the gate at that point. What did you think of this roadblock? Did you like this little bit of math in there? Do you think you would have
riddles? Yeah, I like that. I mean, when you're racing fast and hard, though, your brain's all scrambled and it's really hard to do cerebral ones like that fast. It's funny just equating that with I was looking at Facebook, which is normal, but it said shortest IQ test in the world, and all it was 3 questions. They're basically lateral thinking sort of questions, mathematical questions. And I sat there and I was trying to do it fast, like I was doing it like a race task. And I thought, I've got to slow down because I'm not thinking straight. And then I could do it. But you've really got to slow your brain down so that you can do a challenge like that. And who was it that just kept going back and giving 9 and then giving 10 and then giving 11?
Yeah.
Good strategy. But
she broke the game.
Should they not allow people to do that? But then how would they know that people aren't doing that if they're just not totally clued up and say they do 9 and then they do 13 and then they spend some time and do 12? Like, it's not in order. But how can they judge? They can't really judge something like that.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, listen, I applaud Chelsea for that, because she said math's not her thing. She knew it. So she found a way to work around the limits that she had, and she found a way to get in there. So that to me shows street smarts, maybe not book smarts, but street smarts. And she got past it. Definitely. So I still applaud her for that. I was very impressed by Morgan and how quickly she got through that roadblock. They killed both roadblocks in this episode, but Morgan got through it very quickly before anybody else could realize what she was doing. Didn't give anybody a hint as to what it is, and just kept it moving, which was good. They were still doing very well at this point in the league. And then obviously very interesting here with Todd, Annalie, and I think it was Joe, maybe that was all together, or Joel that were there. And then at that point, Todd got the math, and he's like, I think it's 15, and Annalie graciously said she would take one for the team, ran up to the Baron to go and test it for them so she could get ahead, and said she would let them know. I thought that was so nice of her to do that.
Yeah, nice and clever.
Very nice of her, very polite of Todd to allow her to be the test dummy, to get ahead of them, to get out of there. And it seemed like there was like no bad blood.
I think it was just like, okay, yeah.
It's like, how did this happen? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like she just appointed herself as the test dummy to go out there first. And then obviously they had to rappel down, which was a fun little challenge there. I would have enjoyed that part of the roadblock. Definitely would have been fun for me to do, but they all sort of get out of there at the same time. It was interesting seeing Corey beat the math whiz out there, and John, who's a
Yes.
Google employee. He just blitzed past them so quickly there, showing that he's definitely a man of many talents, that Corey.
Yes, definitely. Oh, well, just if you're good at maths and good at those sort of questions like that, then they're great. I mean, I love maths, but I hate having to do anything like that fast because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to get it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy here says, I'm also kind of surprised they didn't mark the ferry stop, just provide them with the name. Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, it shows you just have to pay attention to detail. Like
Yeah.
the clue was there. They didn't look at it. Logan says Steve is such a breakout character. He went from being a sunburned tomato for 6 rounds to being a groggy from a long flight and having it be that time of the month for him. Such an underrated comedy. I just think nothing. I don't have any blame. Like, I like that team and I like Annalie. I don't have a problem with her like a lot of people does. For some other reason, people just don't like a strong, competitive woman out there. I know I annoyed Chris with that line last week, and I'm sure she's gonna come at me again at a later stage because I said that, because I am being tongue in cheek when I say that. But I don't mind it. I don't mind a competitive spirit, but I can see why he lost his cool. That's fine.
Yeah, but lots of people don't like Annalie. They don't like her because of how she races, which is just stupid. Because plenty of guys race like that and they don't get vilified.
You know what? There's the saying in South Africa. It's an Afrikaans saying, which is my first language in any case, but it basically translates into the highest trees catches the most wind. So if you're someone that's out there and achieving and doing, you're going to catch wind. People are going to come for you just because she's out there. She's living her best life. She's competitive. I think she's probably successful in her life outside of the game. People don't like that. They say they like people that are successful, but they don't really like it.
That is so interesting you say that, because in Australia it's called the tall poppy syndrome.
Yes.
Where people try to take people down for that. And you've got something equal, like that in South Africa. So that's quite...
I think it's just human nature. I don't think it's a South African thing or an Australian thing. I just think it's human nature that people want to find someone to dislike. And sometimes if there's someone out there that, like, I can see how certain aspects of her personality can annoy people because she's so full on all the time. I actually don't mind it. Like,
I don't mind it either. And I
grew up with a lot of women like that. I grew up with a lot of women like that around me. I had a lot of role models and strong women around me that were like pushing me to do better. And I don't have a problem with it. But I do think she pushed the dad a little bit too far this episode. I can say that. Like, I agree with the dad, but she pulled it back in later on.
She did say, "Are you running?"
Yeah. Logan says, ironically, given Annalie is the shortest tree out of all 26 people in the season, if you put them in a lineup. That's true. Ellen, welcome to the live, says, hey, Chris and Michelle, now that the Amazing Race AU is finished, I can finally sink my teeth into the Amazing Race 35, so I won't stay for the recap, but wanted to say hello. We appreciate that, and hopefully we get you to catch up at some stage and take part of, in some of the lives. I think it's a lot of fun always. But yeah, so interesting to see them get past this roadblock and being able to move on. Obviously, they have to get to the city called Cologne, which I didn't even realize that there was a city by the name Cologne. I'm sure that is because of the fact that there were some of these. Yeah, I didn't know it. Like, is it that bad that I didn't know, Michelle? You look at me like with this disappointed face.
You're not 20. You've lived a life a little bit.
I know, I have, but Cologne's not the first city that I think of when I think of Germany.
Well, no, I don't think of Cologne at all. You think of Frankfurt and Munich and, all the big ones, and you don't think of Cologne. No.
Yeah. You can ask me anything about the stock market and how to make money on the stock exchange and things like that. And I'll have, like, because that actually translates into something for me. So I can give you like really good tips on ETF stocks, where you should invest, what the return will be on 10 years from now. But for some other reason, I don't know that the city Cologne existed. Michelle,
It's also got a silent G in there.
Yeah, silent G. At least I knew that it's a silent G looking at that. But, very interesting. Obviously, they go there. They have to self-drive there. That's where they do the big carnival. What did you think of the carnival? Did you enjoy it?
It was so strange. I'm sorry. It was a room. It was a room that you have weddings in, right?
Yeah.
And they just randomly put people in like an L shape and made them cheer. And these horses. I'm assuming these horses are normally like on the street and they're
Yeah.
street carnivals, but they put them in this room. It was just so weird. I thought it was weird. It was like
It
a
was
snapshot
John's
of
favorite
German,
moment.
but it was a
John's favorite
snapshot of a
moment.
German carnival. It wasn't a real one. It was just bizarre, but I liked it because it was just so bizarre.
I reckon John should be on Broadway. He shouldn't actually be like, he doesn't get to live out his true self sitting behind a computer programming all day. Like, I feel like he needs to be out performing somewhere. He's the one who sings, wants to be like, clearly wants to be on stage. He's made for bigger things.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed that. I like seeing them embrace themselves with the culture of it and just throwing themselves into it. And like I said, I feel like they brought it in at that time that was needed for them to just slow down, relax, have a bit of a laugh at themselves. And a lot of teams sort of cooled down a little bit after that moment as well, when they saw themselves just being a little bit silly, goofy. But I like any cultural thing like this, Michelle. Like, I would have been fully in on it. Like, would you want it to throw the roses or the flowers, or would you
ride the horse thing?
I'd do either.
Look at it. Huh? Oh, actually, you could have done the roses with a flourish off this way and this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Labai is saying, is Berlin named after a wall, Logan? Cologne, Frankfurt, Hamburg. Germany likes naming towns after objects and food.
Yes.
True. Hamburg, yeah. Frankfurt, yeah, I could see it. And he says, Labias Runai, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. They were just asking for trouble. Like this little moment, it was a fun little moment to see all of them go in there. It also looked like Corey's dad really enjoyed it. Like, Corey really enjoyed seeing his dad up there, enjoying it and sort of throwing himself into it, even though the dad afterwards said it was really strange, when he had to do it. The next part of this, they had to run to a bridge where they get their next clue, and then they get a second roadblock. Again, were you surprised to see two roadblocks in one episode? Have we seen this before? Logan will probably know.
No, but I don't know. I've seen it in the Australian series this season. I don't know, like roadblock, a task, and then a detour, and it's like, what are they doing? They're just getting them to do all this stuff. But it makes it more interesting. I did
enjoy it. To be honest, I feel like with the longer episodes, that's probably what they should have done with every episode. They should have added an extra challenge in there. Instead of dragging some of the challenges out, seeing people fail over and over, which I don't find as entertaining. I'd rather see them try another task out. But this one here, they had to go and find a needle in a haystack. The other person who didn't do the first roadblock, they now are forced to also do a roadblock, which I like because it kind of prevents them from staggering some of the legs and only having their best player perform a roadblock. Now both have to do a roadblock within a leg. And it was interesting to see the strategy here for a lot of the teams going out there and looking for it. Greg and John were way up in front. Robin and Chelsea started following Greg and John at some points, which really annoyed them, but it's the right strategy to get behind a team that clearly knows what they're doing and how they're navigating. And the lead doesn't really change at this stage with Greg and John going in there first finding the lock. Were you surprised at when you looked at this roadblock in the beginning, Greg and John and their team and Robin, who was part of the Robin and Chelsea team who went out there, they had to go very far onto the bridge to get their first lock. But a lot of the other teams seemed to find them a lot closer to where the actual challenge started.
I mean, they would have been spotted all along the bridge. And the problem is that if you're fast and you're running past the first lot, then you do miss the ones that are at the beginning. But it depends how good your eyes are. I'm really surprised. I mean, I thought it was Rob had to do the challenge, but it was a bit worrying because he couldn't ask anybody anything unless they could sign. And I was thinking, my God,
I was worried for him.
Well, if he finds the lock, then how's he going to find out the clue? Like, he can't
communicate.
Well, he can say certain words, but I'm assuming
he would have had to show them the clue. He would have had to physically show them the clue to try and get them to understand what he's after. But I was really, really worried for him when he went onto that one. And I just thought, I was having a panic for him being out there. And Luckily, shout out to Ashley, who is one of the best human beings in the world. That
Yes.
clearly she doesn't care about the money, because if it
Yeah.
was me, I would not have helped. I would have been that guy that everybody would have hated, that wouldn't have helped the deaf guy in this situation because I want the $1 million. But Ashley's a better human being than me because she did help him with the clue. And
Well,
she does listen to the podcast sometimes as well. So Ashley, shout out to you if you're listening to it.
But Ashley's higher up. Like, she knew they were at the top half of the pack. So I
Yes.
would have actually helped him as well, knowing where I was positioned.
Because it could come back to pay off, but he didn't expect it, right? So he was even shocked. He's like, "Oh wow, she's helping me. Why?" Like almost
So
like he couldn't
nice.
believe it. And yeah, I feel like I would have been cold-hearted. I would have been like, "I'm sorry,
Oh, dear.
I got to keep it moving. They're a good team. If he's out there and somehow gets eliminated, one less team to beat at the end, Michelle. You need that one person in the team that's a bit more cutthroat."
Jeez, you're in trouble.
I'm there for the win, Michelle. I'm there to help other teams win money at the end.
I know, but it's only like 7, and there's still like how many teams left? Jesus, it's like 8.
But you'd rather race against the other 6 teams or 5 teams that you're going up against, not against Rob and Corey, because they've been the most consistent team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But again, like I said, Ashley, shout out to you. Well done. You really helped them out there. I didn't even know if she realized how much trouble Rob, like maybe, I don't even think she was thinking about it. She just immediately helped him. Yeah, she just did it out of the goodness of her heart. She's like, I'm going to help him, but clearly helped him out of a pinch there. It would have been interesting to see what strategy he would have come up with to try and get the clue to get out of there if she didn't help him. So sadly, we didn't get to see that.
Did he have the clue on him, though, or did he leave it back with his son?
No, he had the clue on him. I remember him running out with the clue because I think that the second part of the roadblock you can only read when you leave. Remember, you only get like the first section, so he had it on him.
Well, if you showed it to someone, they could have done the 4, 7, 1, 1.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do 11. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also, while we're on the subject of that, I was very impressed by, once again, I've been to Germany before. And even back then, I was impressed by how much Germans are willing to help when you ask them for help. Like they come across as very stern, they do their own thing and they move. But if you, like I got lost there when I was in Germany as well. We were at the Oktoberfest. Me and one of my mates, we missed one of the guys that went there with us, he could speak German and works for Mercedes. So he goes over to Germany quite a lot and he was fluent. And we just kind of followed him around the whole time when we were there. And then we lost him during the beer fest and had to get back to our hotel. And it was after hours. None of the trains were working or anything like that. So we're trying to navigate back. We're lost in a foreign country. And asking people, they were so friendly and they did help. Even in broken English, they would help you. Germans are really friendly if you actually ask for help. And I think it was great to see that play out because it's very different from my experience in France, where unless you speak Afrikaans to them and they can tell you're not English speaking, because then they get uncomfortable. Then they'll help you,
really?
But they don't. Yes, but they don't help you easily if you speak English. They're like, no, don't want to talk to you. You're English.
Yeah, they're like that. But when I was traveling around Europe, I heard a piece of information, which was that aside from Australians who do travel a long way to go traveling, German people do travel a lot compared to a lot of other countries in the world. Germans travel a lot. So they're used to other cultures and they're used to being in other countries a bit more. So maybe that makes them more conducive to helping, foreigners as well.
They were so helpful with all the teams. Like even the people who were helping Andrea and Milena the whole time when they were lost, trying to get them back on track. Everybody was very kind throughout this whole episode. And even getting them to use the phones and things like that to be able to look up certain locations. So it was good to see. I'm glad they showed that sort of part of Germans and that side of them. Logan here does say it's the 20th Amazing Race US leg with 2 roadblocks. So there has been a lot of them. More than what we can sort of probably name in this podcast.
Oh, he could name them all.
Logan he probably could name them all.
We seriously don't have all night, but he could name them all and what season they were in, what country, and possibly what was happening on them. But no, let's not test him.
No. It's not a challenge, Logan. So they get out of there and they got to go do a detour. So the detour is between 2. It's Just for Kicks and Matter of Taste. Now, you already know, Michelle, which one I would have gone for.
Well, you know what I would have gone for, but the
I know what you
problem
would
is,
have gone for. You would have gone for the taste, and I would have gone for the kick.
no, I said
Oh,
you
really?
don't have food on the race. Don't have food at any
Right.
point if you can help it. But I would have got to the soccer, found out it had to be exactly those points, and left.
I would have killed
just
it.
taken my chances.
I would have been
can't
like,
get
Michelle, if you and
stat
I were there,
points.
I would have been like, just get some points on there and let me do the rest of the work. Kind of like
Well,
what Corey did with his
yeah,
dad.
if you're with someone who can do soccer, or
Yeah.
I can do darts, but
Mm.
my feet are not like my hands.
But I feel like Todd didn't explain to Ashley because again, soccer is not a big sport over in the US. So when she was trying to ask for advice on how to kick the ball, what you need to say is take your feet outwards and hit it with that sort of like
Side.
with the side of the foot,
Yeah.
just between the toe and
And he
where
was
that
saying go
part is there.
under
And then hit
he
it from
wasn't
underneath because you
getting it.
control it better. So
Yeah.
so the technique wasn't there. A lot of them didn't kick it right with like flat feet and things like that. It was horrible to watch. But for someone who's played soccer and grew up kicking a ball a lot, even with rugby and that, it would have been such a natural thing for me to do. And I was glad they did bring it in because, obviously Germany is one of the best countries in the world when it comes to soccer. And like they said, they've won both the female and men's World Cup multiple times. So it was cool to see it being brought into it. Soccer is always one of those ones that kind of catches some of the Americans out. There's been famous roadblocks or detours in the past as well, where they've had to like prevent someone from scoring a goal or score a goal against the goalie that was really good. But this one was definitely a level up because of the fact that it was soccer, but it's kind of like throwing darts as well at the same time.
I know. I love the whole idea of that sport. But also it's so hard to get the exact number. And how good was Dad Rob? How good was he at getting a bullseye? Just like getting a bullseye. It was crazy.
I love the moment between Rob and Corey where they were like going back and forth about who's the best at darts. And he's like, "Are you sure you're better than me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "This is on TV." He's like, "Okay, fair enough. You're a little bit better than me." I love that banter between the two of them. It was good to see. And again, also well done to Corey for coming up with the strategy that the person who's the most accurate should always go second. Like as long as the other person can get their balls up there, get 2 shots in, then the second person knows what they have to do. It surprised me that it took him that long to change the strategy where he would go second because he could control it better. But well done in figuring it out and being the only team who actually completed that roadblock.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
Let me tell you why I wouldn't have wanted to do the mustard, because I freaking hate food challenges and mustard's not my favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing. I would have been. That bucket next to it would have been there for me just in case I would have spewed up or something afterwards.
First of all, I can't do spicy and mustard's like hot. And also the only thing I have mustard on is when they put that little drop on like a cheeseburger at McDonald's. That's the only mustard I ever have because it's already on there. Otherwise, I don't really like mustard. And
I would have struggled. The pronunciation of the names, no issue for me.
What was wrong with Annalee's pronunciation of whatever the hell she was trying to say?
That's typical Salvin, like people that have never. And again, it's funny because she has traveled. She's got a traveling block, and I feel like she's not traveled. But I have to remember that English, the English language is not. It's very different to German. The pronunciation is very different. If you're not exposed to a lot of foreign languages, you probably will struggle. Like Michelle, you've done a little bit of French, so at least you've got like something else there. For me, Afrikaans would help me a lot with the German words. Like I could do the pronunciation, I think, pretty effectively in general. And I love the fact that they got a bratwurst at the end of it. When they won, and they actually got to chow down. I would have been all over that.
Who said they gave us food? And there was only one team that actually started eating it outside the window. I think it was Joel and Garrett.
Because they thought they were last. There was no pressure on them. That would have been me.
I would have just started eating it outside the window. Even while I was walking, I would have been eating it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would not be standing outside and eating it. I would be running and eating it at the same time as I'm leaving, but I would have definitely, bratwurst is such a tasty sausage, so to get that there, it's beautiful. Like
you just can't. Sauerkraut or mashed potato, white stuff. I don't know what it was, but
I went to a German festival here in Melbourne not that long ago. A couple of weeks ago, there was like a little festival thing here, and they had bratwurst, and it was not that great at all. It was not like the real thing. Like if you get it in Germany, top drawer. But
Yeah.
I would have struggled. I would have definitely struggled through it. So I was surprised how many people actually went there immediately. Hats off to Todd for actually changing and realizing that he should have made a decision that is best for him and his partner combined. That it should always be the right
Yeah.
thing. But Todd gets overexcited whenever there's something competitive or sporty that he can do. So he just wants to go at it. That's the
Yeah.
previous athlete in him, And like Logan says here, he would have paid Todd a whole $20, which would have been very tempting for Todd. I don't think he would have said no to $20 to tell Ashley it's like basketball, but with your feet, and see how hard Ashley would have punched him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would have been super annoyed. She was annoyed enough at him. Like, and
Yeah.
I feel like she's calmed down a little bit on him throughout the series, and she's like tolerated some of his antics a little bit better out there. Maybe he's also gotten better at like not going overboard. But yeah, fun little detour there. The pit stop, obviously, is at a chocolate export factory or museum, I should say. Germany being the number one chocolate exporter in the world. Didn't know
What is
that.
that? I thought Switzerland was.
Same. It must have just recently overtaken Switzerland, I feel like.
I'm very surprised. Well,
Maybe Switzerland's got the
Australia,
highest quality, and Germany sends all theirs to like the countries that don't have the like. German people are going to come for me because everything in Germany is supposed to be about excellence.
Do you know that Australia is the biggest consumer of Easter eggs in the world?
Wow,
we
did
always
not
were.
know that.
I don't know whether we're currently still, but we used to be. So, yeah, I love that fact because we do eat quite a bit of Easter chocolate. Yeah.
Right. The ones with the marshmallow in, or like the hollow
anything.
chocolate ones?
Oh,
Anything,
a hollow chocolate more than anything. But we have so much on the shelves. Just it's insane.
Can't wait. Can't wait to experience my first Easter in Australia next year. This will be the first Easter. It'd be interesting to see how it goes. Is it bigger than Christmas over here?
Look, they start putting the Easter eggs out normally after New Year's Eve. After New Year's Day, they start getting Valentine's, and some stores start getting Easter stuff out already. Even though Easter is in April, I mean the earliest it can be end of March normally. But oh my god, like it really is big.
Well, the Amazing Race, if they ever come back to Australia, if they don't have an Easter egg challenge or doing something with Easter themed, we're going to riot. Michelle, we're going to be right because then they're just ignoring what Australians want to see.
Oh, God. You know, the Australian season started and finished overseas. They didn't even come back here at all.
Right.
Like,
That's
why
weird.
haven't you done anything in Australia? But they're like, nah, we'll do it over there.
That is weird. Like you'd imagine that they would come back. But still haven't watched that season at all. So it's one of the other ones that I also need to at some stage catch up on with a very large growing list of shows that are happening at the moment, like we said, coming into this podcast. But well done to Greg and John for finishing first.
Yeah.
That's their second first place in a row. They're starting to peak at a really good stage in the game now. And with the U-turn behind them, I don't think there's another U-turn coming. They're probably in a good place. Robin and Chelsea definitely over-exceeding, showing that they can do extremely well. There may still be some weakness for them in the future with navigation because obviously they were benefited at one stage from following Greg and John from one of the route, what do you call it, checkpoints to the detour or the roadblock. Yeah, so that could still come back to bite them a little bit. Todd and Ashley continue to remain solid in third place. Rob and Corey coming in at fourth. Steve and Annalie getting up to fifth place. They did start climbing back onto the ranks again, and I still think they're a very strong team if they can work together and not fight. Morgan and Lena has to be the biggest yo-yo team of the season because then they're in the front, then they're in the back. But I will say Morgan absolutely killed the roadblock. And I love that little segment with Morgan and Lena when they were running up to the roadblock where she was like saying, we're going to get in the heads of Jill and Garrett. They need to know they cannot outrun us. They cannot outthink us. We are better than them in every single possible way. And I do think that morally or mentally, they did get into Jill and Garrett's head a little bit. I love these little like head games that the teams are playing, you know?
Yeah. Oh, they just had a mess of an episode.
Yeah, they were in the front at one point. They left the first roadblock in first and then started fighting with each other. Morgan should have taken over driving a lot sooner. Lena was a mess. And it's annoying, not annoying, but sad, I guess is the right word, to see teams where one person is just carrying so hard when it comes to the driving portion and the other person can't even read a map. Like, how do you go on an Amazing Race and not at least attempt to learn how to read a map?
I know. Like,
It's tough. It's tough to watch. Hats off to Morgan for carrying a big workload on that. Sorry, I think it was Lena who killed the second part, by the way. Morgan did the first one. But still, so Lena made up a little bit of time on that second roadblock by just smashing through it. But Jill and Garrett, they are well and truly in the back of the pack now. Do you see a realistic opportunity for Jill and Garrett to remain in the race, or do you think that it is done from...
Yeah, they can remain in the race if Morgan and Lena have an absolute shocker of a next leg. Yeah. I want Joel and Garrett to stay. No, they're not the strongest of all. They're not really strong compared to the teams, but Morgan and Lena could go out.
So Jill and Garrett have had 7th place, 9th place, 2nd, 9th, 3rd, and 7th. So outside of Morgan and Lena, again, they're a yo-yo team, similar to Morgan and Lena. So I would put all money on either Morgan and Lena or Jill and Garrett being the next team out, because they just don't have the consistency.
Yeah, they don't, which is very sad. But yes.
Yeah. And we're very deep in the race now, 7 teams left. Like, who's the team for you? I lost Team Pink, obviously, this episode. One of the reasons I came into this podcast dragging my heels because I lost one of my favorite teams. Who are you shouting for?
Oh, look, I'd love Rob and Corey to take it. Or Robin and Chelsea, or Joel and Garrett. They're my 3 that I love. But I mean, there isn't a team to really hate or
no. There's no dislikable teams. Yeah.
No, and a lot of people have said.
I'll give a shout out to Todd and Ashley, the only races so far this season that have sort of followed the podcast along as well. So Todd and Ashley, you're now the team I'm shouting for. Don't disappoint me. They also have a podcast, so hopefully that is going to be a good omen. I feel like you don't podcast about the show if you didn't do well, unless you're Victor and how do I forget the name of his partner? Yeah, Jocelyn. Victor and Jocelyn is podcasting about it, and they're already out.
Yeah.
But normally people podcast about it when they do pretty well. So I feel like Todd and Ashley is going to be up there. But yeah, a lot of likable teams. I would love Steve and Annalie to win just to annoy the fandom. See the meltdown.
God. Or Chelsea and Robin, because the fans have something against them as well. God, fans hate older, strong women. They just hate. They hate younger, strong women. They just hate strong women.
Robin and Chelsea as well. Like, definitely. Like, I mean, there's a couple of things Robin and Chelsea did this episode where even when Robin was running away when she got the lock, someone at that point asked for help. I think it was Ashley or someone that asked her for help, and she flat out ignored her and said, "Just run that way." Didn't give her any help. Didn't give her an answer, and I was like, you go, Robin. Like, I love that cutthroatness. Like, you're in this to win the money. Yes. The more cutthroat they are, the less they help other teams, the less kumbaya there is for me. I'm loving that stuff.
Look, Chris, I would be like her with anyone except for Rob. Yes, I would have helped Rob. But everyone else would have been, run that way. I saw one down there. But for Rob, I would have helped. Yeah.
She's not, listen, Robin's not UNICEF. She's not helping people around the world and getting them out of poverty and things like that. She's trying to get her money. She's trying to get the bag. So I'm all about her being cutthroat in that moment. I don't mind them. Yeah, it's there are no teams really that is dislikable. I would argue that we are missing that larger than life personality team from this season. Like there's no team when I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, wow, this personality, they're larger than life this season.
No. Who do you like now that your pink team's gone?
I said Todd and Ashley. I'm going to have to back Todd and Ashley.
Just one. That's it. All your marbles in one bag.
No, again, there's not many people I don't like. So if you're going to ask me, like, which one team are you going to shout for? Team Pink was that. Team Pink is out. So now the one team is going to be Todd and Ashley. And then probably second would be Steve and Annalie, because I would like to see the fans not get what they want for them to win. I wouldn't be angry at any of them winning at this stage. I think they're all likable in their own right.
Yeah.
Even Morgan and Lena. It's all the women teams that they don't like the women this season. Morgan and Lena, again, there's some people who don't like Morgan and Lena for some other reason.
Oh, God. If I ever get on, sorry, stuff you, fans, stuff you.
Yeah. I just don't get it. But I will say we're probably it's like one of those things where the people it's always the minority and the people that are upset that make their voices heard. There's a silent majority of people who just watch and enjoy and love the show.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. But anyway, I have to just point out, hi.
Hey, Nunez, welcome back. Nunes completely missed the first couple of podcasts that we did because apparently her notifications wasn't on, but now it is on. So welcome back.
Oh, well, she could catch up by watching,
Yeah,
old episodes.
she has.
Sorry, the pit stop greeter.
Yes.
Please explain.
I'm still
story.
confused. I'm still
Sat
confused.
on a cannonball.
I did not get
it. Like a Halloween costume. It should have been on around the week before when it was like Halloween week. Like, what was that?
I was, to be honest with you, I watched it at the wrong time of the week. It was like at the end of a very long week. I've done a lot of work. I've had to do some strategic planning for December and January for our sales teams and things like that. And I got to the end of this and I'm like, what am I watching? Like, what's going on right now?
It
started off with the carnival and then they just doubled down on this.
And I'd watched the finale of the Australian one last night. Then I went straight into this last night and I was like, it's late. Does he have legs? Where are his legs? Oh, they're inside the ball. So weird. Love the story.
Kia ora, Will. Welcome to the live. Always good to have you here. Will is my fellow co-host for Wheel of Time content here on the channel. So
Wheel of Time, how's that going? I haven't.
Very
that's
good.
Another one I have to binge.
So we call Will the Will of Time because he's got all the knowledge. He's read all of the books. He's so if you ever need any suggestions in regards to how to get into it or you're confused when you watch the show, reach out to my boy Will and he will set you right. He has all the knowledge. But it's a very good show. Have you watched the first season of it?
Yeah, I've watched the first season. I've got to watch. I've got to start.
Second season was better than the first season. You'll enjoy it.
Really?
So if you want to geek out with someone about it and talk about it, go watch it. Reach out to me and we can chat. Okay, I'll get Will on a call with us as well. All right, let's see what else people are saying here before we start wrapping up this week. Sandy says, I love that people are eager to help and friendly, but their faces are still blurred. Oh, yes. I think there was only one group, but I was like, why is their faces blurred? No one else's faces were blurred. Like, is there a legal reason why they can't be shown on camera? And they were like, asked afterwards, can you sign this? Because normally they give you the form after. Can you sign? And they're like, oh, no, I don't want people to know who I am. Like, I feel like there's a story there.
So they have to be blurred and then other people don't have to be blurred. But it's it's only recent that people are being blurred because it's never happened.
It's if they refuse to sign the waiver.
Yeah.
So why would you refuse to sign the waiver unless you've got something to hide, Michelle? But I want to start rumors.
Were the people who were blurred the ones by the riverbank?
So no, the people that were blurred was at the second roadblock when they were going for the bridge. There were two guys that were helping one of the teams, and they were blurred. Their faces were blurred.
Maybe one of them wasn't supposed to be in that city at that time.
I didn't want to say it, Michelle. You can be the bad guy on this podcast, because people are going to come for us for saying it. But I feel like there has to be a reason. Like there's some mystery.
Oh, there's obviously a reason. Maybe one of them wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe they weren't supposed to be with who they were with.
Yeah.
Could be.
Logan says the pit stop greeters legs is just floating in the air like Dhalsim from Street Fighter 2. That's a blast from the past. Logan says we are lucky this season went westward instead of eastward. We ended up with 7 episodes of Andrea and Milena instead of 1 episode because of it. 100% Logan. You get what I'm saying. You see, me and Logan, same mind. Except he knows a lot more about the Amazing Race than me, but he gets it. We need some funtainment while the show's on the go. Logan says maybe they are just the blanks from Nick and Tracy. All right, well, I think we've gotten through everything here for this episode. If you like the content, if you like hearing us break down the Amazing Race every week, we will be back next week to talk about episode 8. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, put a like on this content. That way we know that you're liking it. And if you're watching it at a later stage, comment in the comment section below and let us know what did you agree with, what didn't you agree with. Maybe start with telling us who's your favorite team and who's going next. I'd be very interested to know who you think will go next and who's your favorite team. Who are you shouting for at the moment? And I promise if it's not Todd and Ashley, I won't delete your comment. Is that a deal? I'm not that spicy, but that's it for this week. Thank you everybody in the live. It's been a lot of fun. We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.